Hi, everybody. Ron Placone here. So Bernie Sanders recently had his first big event, his first highly publicized event in Vermont, where he formally said, yes, I'm running for president. He brought up a lot of issues. He brought up taxing the rich a little bit more. He brought up the education crisis, the student loan debt crisis. He brought up universal health care and Medicare for all. He brought up a lot of these issues, and the way he went about them, the way he pointed out how we're just benefiting a handful of billionaires instead of all the people that live here. This is a guy that has not been neutered by the corporatocracy that runs American politics. Not only has he not been neutered, but this guy isn't afraid to hump a couple fire hydrants. And this is by his own accord. He's doing this intentionally. He's doing this on purpose because the way he sees it, at least the way I'm anticipating he sees it, is that we've reached a point of crisis, and this is the next step in our direction in terms of the survival and in terms of where American politics is going. The way a lot of things work in our political structure, or basically not even United States structure, but just politics in general, is you reach a point of crisis by following a certain status quo, and then the only necessary change is a pretty big shift, a pretty significant shift. Some would even describe it as extreme in certain cases, and that's basically the anatomy of how revolution happens. The way I think the Bernie Sanders campaign sees it is that we're at that point. Are we at that point? I don't know for sure. Like, it's tough for me to say it's just one dude existing in the ethers that we are at that point where the status quo that we've adopted for however many years, pretty much the status quo we're under now, you can pretty much attribute from Reagan until the present. Have we reached a mode of crisis with that? Some would argue that we certainly have. When you look at income inequality, when you look at the lack of jobs in the United States right now, when you look at the student loan crisis, when you look at the healthcare crisis, when you look at the completely vanishing middle class, the argument could definitely be made. Yes, we've reached that point, and yes, it is time for Bernie Sanders. At one point, a few weeks back, on a Young Turks Nation panel that I was doing with Jeff Waldorf, I was kind of saying that I don't know if Bernie could outspend Clinton, which I don't think he can. And I was saying, you know, I don't think he has much of a shot. And I was comparing him to Dennis Kucinich in 2008. And I think that even though what I said may or may not still end up being the case, I do think that the way I was looking at things a few weeks ago, I think I was wrong, and I'm proud to report I was wrong, and I hope I continue to be wrong in that regard. And the reason for this, I was thinking of the climate in 2008. And in 2008, we were just getting over the Bush administration. The country was hungry for a different direction, but we weren't quite at such a huge divide in such a huge shift. We were just getting over this kind of moral majority, far right agenda, this overly nationalistic, xenophobic, war propaganda agenda that people were just starting to see through, and they were starting to see through the fog, and they were ready for something a little bit different. And that something different ended up being a pretty moderate corporatist that you know, had some pretty good ideas and talks really well. And you know, as far as Obama goes, there were some things he did that I liked, some things he did that I didn't like, and he is, for the most part, just kind of a moderate, and that is what the country was ready for. They were not ready for a Dennis Kucinich in 2008. That was a while ago. We're in a different place now, and I am willing to admit that I wasn't really taking that into account when I was making those statements. And I do think that as far as, again, income inequality, as far as where we've come on a lot of issues, it's time for that significant of the shift. And I think that's why Bernie Sanders and the people behind him do think this guy has a shot. He is a contender. And I think that Clinton and everybody in the Democratic, and on the Democrat side and on the Republican side, are starting to see that, yes, this is the case. This is why this guy has Bernie Sanders has outnumbered a lot of the Republicans in terms of what he's raised so far. He raised $4 million in just a few weeks. There's a lot of Republican contenders that he beat out. This guy is a viable candidate, and he's running on the platform of ideas. He's saying no to the corporatocracy. I and many others do fantasize about a day where we get dirty money out of politics, where we get money out of politics. That day, of course, is not here now. That day is not going to be here in 2016. But is there a situation where a Bernie Sanders could feasibly, possibly take something? And would that be a huge catalyst and a huge push for getting money out of politics? Absolutely. Is it likely? At this point, I don't even know, but it's not impossible. Yes, the Clinton dynasty is going to be a tough uphill battle. I still think there's no way this guy is going to outspend her. There's no way he's going to touch her in terms of money. But could the American people see through that? Because here's another thing. This guy has raised a lot of money, which points to something else. That is, a lot of people in the general populace are more on board with this guy's ideas, and they're certainly more on board than the media is trying to make it sound. The media is already antagonizing Bernie Sanders. They're already describing him using certain terms that they know will turn certain people off. They're already just saying, oh, his audience doesn't reflect the general American person. I saw that. That's something like he's a self-proclaimed socialist, a term, by the way, socialist, that is seldom, if ever, used properly in American media, certainly not at the corporate media level. And if it ever is used properly, guess who's using it properly? People like Bernie Sanders. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So they're already kind of demonizing him. They're already writing him off, saying his audience is not reflexive of the general American public, which I don't know what that means. I think the general American public are people that want to earn a fair wage, that want to be able to go to college without going into crippling debt, that want their children to go to college without having crippling debt, that want a fair shot, that want to have affordable health care, that want all of these things. A lot of Americans even favor universal health care, and a lot of the ones that don't because of misinformation they've been fed by a corporate media system that's benefiting the status quo and benefiting the for-profit insurance industry. Bernie Sanders is seeing through all this. He is an actual true alternative to this. So already the media is antagonizing him, because if there's one thing the media does not want somebody that would disrupt the status quo so much to be in that type of position. Nor would they want something to disrupt the drama and the episodic wet dream that would be another Bush v. Clinton dynasty. The empire continues. That's what the media wants so badly. And that's the narrative they're going to try to push through. So they're already writing off Bernie Sanders as somebody that doesn't attract the, quote, general American. Well, guess what? This guy's getting money from the people. He's not getting money from the corporations. He's not getting money from some corporate interest that benefits a couple billionaires. He's getting money from the people, and he's making what traction he is making based on his ideas, not based on his ability to buy the TV time. And he's not going to play the corporate game. So, of course, the media wants to antagonize him, because you know who spends a ton of money during election times buying advertising? Politicians. And if this guy's not going to play that game, he's got to play it to a degree. I mean, let's not get too far here. He's got to play it to a degree. But if he's not going to play it the way a Clinton or a Bush or anyone like that's going to play it, the media does not want him around. So they're going to try to marginalize his ideas. They're going to try to marginalize the type of, quote, person that's migrating towards him. But those ideas are starting to get amplified anyway. Are we ready for a Bernie Sanders? Is the country ready for a Bernie Sanders? Tough for me to say if they'll adapt or not. I don't know at this point, but it's certainly not impossible. And one thing that I think we got to take note of right away is the way this guy's going to be written off and the way the media is going to portray this guy. It's not going to be positive, but the populace may just kind of go straight towards the ideas anyway. If we've reached a mode of true crisis, then the time is right for Bernie Sanders. Have we reached that point of crisis yet? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if we haven't, I'm kind of scared at how bad it might get. This is Ron Placone signing out.